Well, hello there. Welcome to WTA Weekly. And yes, I am wearing the same shirt as in that promo. We don't need to talk about that. What we do need to talk about is the fact that we have a veritable Olympic podium of hosts for you today. Myself, Nick Carter, Jerome Coombe, and Miles David. And whoever is gold, silver, or bronze, I will leave up to you, lovely listeners. Miles, we'll start with you. How are you today?
Can I take the gold? I just want to be at the very inner part of the podium. I think it's the coolest part. But I mean, if I had to choose, I'll be okay with biting the bronze or the silver. But either way, I'm happy to be here and on the podium.
Basically sounds like Iga Swiatek, Miles. Jerome, how are you doing?
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be talking WTA. I mean, yeah, thrilling action last week, so I'm excited to get stuck into it.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to get stuck into, has to be said. There were plenty of stories to come out of this Olympics, and yeah, very exciting stuff to talk about. And well, you know what we're going to start with? We have got to start with who won the gold medal. By the way, idea producer, we should put a poll in the chat: who's gold, silver, or bronze? Vote for who should go in which. I'm not just going to award them out to people.
Vote for me.
He's getting the gold medal of the host.
Yeah, but before you do start, I just want to say, obviously last Olympics in Tokyo, personally, obviously, you're probably the same, Nick, being in the UK. It's quite tough to get watching those matches. So it was actually so nice to really get stuck into, and what a great couple of storylines we had this time round, which we'll get into. But yeah, it was the first proper Olympics tennis that I've really kind of got stuck into and actually watched throughout the week. So yeah.
Miles,
To
how much
piggyback off of that, a lot. Unfortunately, I'm a night owl, which turns into me being like early riser sometimes. So that, like in my time zone, play would kind of start around 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And sometimes I would just by happenstance find myself watching some really, really good tennis. And I was appreciative of that. And I really like the vibe of the Olympics as far as tennis. The other sports I've watched have been great too, especially considering from whence we came. The Tokyo Olympics was just had a really weird vibe. But I have to say, since I've been watching tennis, this is probably my second favorite Olympic Games specific to tennis because it was played at a very prestigious stadium, like Roland Garros, kind of how like 2012 London Olympics were played at Wimbledon. That one sticks out of my memory, and I think this one will stay with me for a while too.
I was going to say London's probably your favourite by the sound of it.
It's interesting to say that though, because there's been so much debate about whether tennis belongs at the Olympics, and I mean I can get the reasons why, but I mean I just think it was. I mean, just it definitely does belong, and you can see the players and what it means to them. So, yeah,
definitely belongs for sure.
And someone an Olympic title meant a lot to was Zheng Qinwen, who seemed to fall to the ground in celebration in like every single match she won. Let's be honest, which isn't surprising given she had almost the toughest possible run to a medal. She had to deal with being match point down to Emma Navarro, set and match point down, almost losing into straights, come back. She got into a super tight deciding set tiebreak with Angelique Kerber that literally could have gone either way. Then she gets the overwhelming favourite in the semi-finals, and then she has to deal with the pressure of being the favourite to win the title in the final, and she came through all of them with flying colours. And I want to start with your thoughts on Zheng Qinwen's run, Miles, because you were very quick on social media to big her up when she got the Swiatek result.
Yeah, because I watched all of that match. I didn't intend to. It was one of those instances where I was kind of like up already. Then I kind of rolled over and saw that Iga was about to take the court against Zheng Qinwen. And part of my mind was like, knowing that I've seen that matchup before, knowing that Iga was the overwhelming favorite, I almost didn't turn it on. But in hindsight, I'm very glad I did, because although it wasn't a high quality match, there was tons of drama because of Iga's level or lack there of level, and Zheng Qinwen just kind of having an aura about her that, if you remember, Nick, she has brought from Palermo to Paris, because she's like, I think, on an 11-match win streak now, including that 250 on clay and now this gold medal. There was something about her that just was a little bit different on the court that day. She started off very strong, as did Iga, but then things just really shifted. And unfortunately, I hope no one can clip this and make it the wrong way, but that was some of the worst tennis I've seen of Iga since she's become a Grand Slam champion. And it actually was kind of tough to watch, because I was hoping if someone was going to beat her, they would beat her playing her best, but she was far from it, which is not to take away from Zheng Qinwen, because she clearly had a lot of pressure on her from her country, but I also think she used that pressure to kind of pull her forward and ultimately be on the podium holding the gold medal. So it was a fascinating semifinal to watch, and just the whole entire week from Zheng Qinwen was pretty incredible.
Yeah. How much of Zheng Qinwen's run did you manage to watch, Jerome?
Yes, I tuned in to the Navarro match. I watched that match in full, and I was a crazy match, by the way. First of all, crazy match. But I really thought that after that, I mean, it took so much out of her, and then she had that thriller 7-6 in the third with Kerber. I honestly thought that she would be, I mean, obviously she's got the game to play against Iga, but I thought she was going to be done in that match. But Iga was rattled, and I hate to say it, but I think, nightmares from Tokyo coming back. Tokyo obviously meant so much to her. She was in tears after that second round defeat. Maybe did the pressure get too much? We're not used to seeing her buckle under the pressure, but she did then.
I mean, I'm gonna come. I think we'll kind of hear from you on this first, Jerome, and then Miles. I want to hear your thoughts after that. How surprised were you that Zheng managed to beat Swiatek? Because I was seeing, I kind of suggested on social media that it wasn't that big a surprise. And it was mainly due to the fact I think she was running on a bit of a high off those wins that you were talking about, Jerome. Yes, she may have also been suffering from exhaustion, but I think there was a confidence boost that came with that probably outweighed it. And then when you think about, she has taken sets off Swiatek before. She pushed Swiatek at Roland Garros 2 years ago. Despite the 6-0 head-to-head, I didn't think it was that big a surprise, but I want to get both of your takes on it, starting with Jerome.
Yeah, obviously it's easy to say that, but yeah, no, definitely I do sort of agree. And after the Navarro and Kerber wins, she's playing some ruthless tennis, even though she made it kind of a bit of a meal out of that Navarro match. She was up 6-3 in the first set breaker, I think, lost a set, saved match points. But during the points, she was playing some ruthless tennis, and if she was playing like that, she was going to be able to bring it to Zheng. Did what Collins failed to do in that third set. But yeah, I think I agree. It's not as big an upset as people may think. Obviously, the weight of it being at Roland Garros, and her being the reigning champ and the number one, obviously that adds a lot. But yeah, Zheng's been in incredible form, and she's playing some great tennis on the clay. So yeah, when she's playing, but yeah, I really just thought the physicality was going to be an issue, but clearly I was wrong.
Jerome, I'm glad you used the word. Dang it was on the tip of my tongue. What word did you just use? I wanted to circle back and refer to that in terms of the
physicality.
Physicality, no. Dang it! I wish I'd have wrote it down. Either way, there was a word that you used to describe Zheng Qinwen, which I feel like kind of describes ruthless. There we go, ruthless. There was another competitor that Zheng Qinwen faced that would have described Zheng Qinwen as ruthless. I guess we'll get to that eventually, if you'd like to, Nick. But as far as the upset of Iga, I actually was very surprised. Like I said, I almost didn't turn on the match just because it felt like Iga was going to take care of that, when you consider the fact that, one, she's literally playing in a stadium that she's lost once in this decade to Maria Sakkari. She lost this match to Zheng Qinwen in straight sets after being up 4-love in the second. All of those things compared, and also considering the head-to-head, like Zheng Qinwen took some sets off of Iga Swiatek, but she also lost some very lopsided ones and could have easily lost that 4-love, that second set where Iga was up 4-love, and she came through. I do think, if I have to be honest, I don't want to like overly praise Zheng Qinwen because I don't believe that was the best match of the tournament that she played. She was just given an opportunity by Iga because Iga was just completely overawed with the moment, which I don't necessarily, I can't figure out how that happened because I can't remember. I'm interested to hear, maybe you have some recollection of some moments like this, Nick. Of course, Iga has lost matches as being the dominant number one player as she's been over the past couple of years, but I can't remember anywhere she was such an overwhelming favorite in basically her home, her most comfortable court, which feels like her home court, and was riddled with nerves. Like she was missing forehands by not meters, but like, well, what's the equivalent of meters to what we use in the US? Feet? I don't know. She was missing them by a lot. And I was surprised. I really was. It was a kind of sit up in my chair, like, wow, I haven't seen her kind of really be so discombobulated in a place where she seems so put together, even in moments where she's been pushed at the French Open, going to the final last year against Muhova, going to the match against Zheng Qinwen in 2022. Like she's been pushed on that court, but I always feel like she's going to get it together because she's been the elite clay courter for the past 3 or 4 years. And to see her really never really string a solid 20 minutes together of all of that experience and comfort level on the clay was quite shocking, honestly. And I was kind of trying to figure out where it came from, but then I thought about the previous match Iga played with Danielle Collins, and that may have thrown her off. I didn't think about it while watching the semifinal, but afterwards I was like, why did she seem so flustered, especially in a place, like I said, I keep saying this, where she was so comfortable and all the signs show that she should have been comfortable.
I think if anyone follows Swiatek and sort of her priorities, she'd always made it very clear that Olympic gold is one of the prizes that she most wants to win in her career, probably ahead of most Grand Slams, or equal to, in many ways. And that's because she's got family history with it. Her dad was an Olympian who narrowly missed out on a medal. And if you talk to Damien, he will tell you that the Olympics is probably a bigger deal than any Grand Slam in Poland. So I think there was a lot of pressure upon herself to get that gold medal. And I think she knew that the opportunity was there. And look, the match statistics played out, right? Iga hit 36 unforced errors in that match. Zheng Qinwen hit 13. There's no getting away from that. It was a nervy performance. The nerves got to Iga in the end. And the only comparable match I can think of, Miles, would be when she last lost on Philippe Chatrier, which was to Maria Sakkari in 2021. But it was very different circumstances because that was more a physical tiredness issue than a mental block.
And if I remember correctly, Sakkari was like an issue on paper for Iga at that time. Sakkari had already beaten Iga before. So that one was obviously it was an upset, but I think this upset might be the biggest one of the year on the WTA side.
I would agree with you, to be honest. Like I'd say it's closest comparable I can think of. A couple of matches maybe last year, like the Kudermetova loss in Tokyo was a bit of a surprise, but then you think about how fast Tokyo was. Court. So
Nick,
I think
do you think that it was a mental block from Iga? I think
it was. I think that's the best explanation for what happened, especially given the almost complete contrast we saw in the bronze medal match. The bronze medal match was the best match Iga played all tournament. Was kind of back to herself. And yes, okay, Schmiedlova was probably on more of a level that she was kind of putting away in the first, second, third rounds, but she put her away more convincingly than anyone else she beat other than Diane Parry. So that kind of tells you something there. I think there was, and it was then, look, I don't hold it against her. We've seen that happen with some of the best people at the Olympics before. We saw that with Novak Djokovic himself at the Tokyo Olympics in the semi-finals, where I think there was something happened that caused him to drop his level against Zverev. And I think that comparison is there. I do think with the problem we've got here is not the problem we've got. The thing we need to remember is going back to the stat I highlighted: 36 unforced errors from Iga, 13 from Zheng Qinwen. If Zheng Qinwen also hit 36 unforced errors, it's a very different match.
Absolutely.
And 13 is not that many over the course of 2 sets. So we have to give some credit for Zheng for not letting the occasion get to her. Oh, I might be Iga Swiatek on clay at Roland Garros. Oh, I'm playing for China, which has obviously got its own huge Olympic expectations. Yeah, she went out and she played 2 pretty decent sets and did what she needed to do. And whilst we can debate over whose level affected the result more, the fact is that Zheng's level did have an impact on that match, because, as I said, if it's 36 unforced errors each, it becomes a really messy semi-final that probably goes 3 sets, and Iga just about narrowly scrapes through.
I don't want to take away from Qinwen's level, because it really was impressive, especially when I put it in the context of just watching her a week or 2 ago in Palermo and being so impressed by how comfortable she looks on the clay courts, especially considering that there has been some ebbs and flows in her results post getting to the final of Australia. I was really, really impressed with just how comfortable she felt. When it comes to like the impact of, or the reason why Iga came onto the court very shaky, Ghosty kind of alluded to it in the comments. He said Danielle did her job. I'm not inferring that Danielle Collins's comments during the handshake where she retired in the match prior did affect Iga, but I wouldn't be surprised if it just kind of put that little drop of uncertainty just in her aura in that arena going before that match. I don't think that they're necessarily like cemented together, but I wouldn't be surprised if that little bit of saltiness that Collins put onto Iga showed itself in that Qinwen match. I think it's too much of a coincidence.
I genuinely don't understand why it would. Genuinely don't understand.
Really?
If it was me, I would just go, never mind.
Did you take into like watching that video of Collins? Whatever. I mean, I think Collins has the transcript has come out about what she said to Iga about Iga not having to fake sincerity about her injury. I do think Collins was partially out of line for that, but Iga's response was like, "Whoa, like what are you talking about?" And even her response in press was like, "I have no idea why this woman is talking to me about this, because we get along fairly well in the press." For the type of person that Iga, again, I don't know her, for the type of person I expect her to be, I can totally see why 24 hours later she might be thinking about like, why did she say that to me? And just how small the margins are in tennis, that can throw you off.
I think you care more about what people think of you, Miles, than I do, and probably what Iga Swiatek does, because she does tend to live in a little bit of a bubble. And
I think Collins burst it.
I feel like she can probably take things a little bit to heart sometimes, and when you're world number 1 and people are questioning your like integrity on the court, that's probably not a nice thing to hear, especially for a young person like Iga. I mean, it might have played a little part.
Like the perfect storm of it all. That's fair. We could be. That's completely fair. But I think it kind of was the drop in a perfect storm. She already had put so much expectation on herself to bring home that gold medal for Poland, because it was a perfect storm. It was a perfect scenario for her to do just that. And then this person who has beaten her at a Grand Slam before, and in that match was giving her all she could handle, drops this little nugget, kind of like making her question a lot of her, I guess a lot of her things on the tennis court. I don't think it was huge, but just enough to kind of start the breakdown in mentality, because honestly, that was the biggest thing that showed from that Qinwen match, that her mentality was just kind of not there. She was very agitated, even in the very early parts of the first set. It was interesting to see, and I don't think, even like you said, Nick, we may be overanalyzing it, but I feel like it's a little too convenient that incident happened. She had to respond to it in press, and then the next day go out and was just kind of off mentally. That's how I look at it.
I think there's a lot of factors, but yeah, we can.
Yeah, could have been one of them.
Yeah.
I guess we'll probably never know until maybe she publishes her autobiography.
Yes, when we get a In the Arena with Iga on ESPN Plus. Yes.
Are you not going to be publishing her autobiography, Nick?
I mean, I'm available. Available, I'll do it. I mean, look, if John can get a book out there, I can. So I guess we're kind of on Iga, and I think we're kind of all in agreement on her level was the ultimate decider of that match and the direction of the Olympic gold medal. I think we can kind of all agree on that. I am more willing to give Zheng some credit in getting through that, and getting the result and getting the gold in the end. I think she's someone who thrives on playing for her country as well. We saw that in the Asian Games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is it too early to start thinking about Zheng's run at Roland Garros next year, or?
Well, she's going into next year's play. We're gonna. I'm definitely gonna be talking about her when we get to Stuttgart, being on a 11-match play win streak, and so
that is true. She's gonna, unless she plays, I don't think there's gonna be many opportunities for her to play on clay again between now and like Stuttgart. But yeah, she'll be coming in with a whole bunch of confidence on that surface, and what is not mentioned very often, maybe because I don't hear it very often, but she's trained a lot and probably still does train in Barcelona, which is obviously accessible to tons of clay courts, and it shows in her game. So I'm really interested to see. It'll be interesting to see how she takes this monumental moment in her career and translates that to other big clay court tournaments, because I think I'm pretty sure the only tournament win she has on clay are the two in Palermo, which are at 250 level. Nothing to like really snuff at, but she doesn't have a Rome or a semifinal at Roland Garros or Madrid or something like that yet.
It's interesting because she's only 21. I mean, obviously people were talking about her at the start of the season, that run to the Australian Open, but she's only 21. I mean, she's probably going to be in contention for being one of the big stars of women's tennis in years to come. We've spoken about that big four of Swiatek, Sabalenka, Rybakina, and Goff, but maybe there's a fifth coming into that conversation.
Sign me up for that. I like watching her play quite a bit, especially on clay. She's one of the few people that I actually don't mind watching on clay. Or maybe I prefer watching on clay comparative to other surfaces.
Ruthless. And I didn't know what Navarro was really talking about that, because I watched that match through and it seemed like quite a fairly light-hearted match, both players giving it their all, and then obviously Navarro had some words at the net, but
everyone keeps saying the same thing, Jerome. Yeah, no one, everyone that has watched that match has said the exact same thing, that they have no idea where Navarro's commentary came from, outside of the fact that Qinwen had a large contingency of Chinese fans rooting for her, but it's the Olympics. When else are they going to root for her? That's the time to kind of ebb up the passion that you have for your country.
They were also rooting for her because she was down a lot in the match. She was set in a breakdown twice. I think they were also rooting for the underdog. It wasn't just the Chinese as well. So I think, but that's natural in tennis. So yeah, strange.
Sour grapes for Navarro. Not a great look.
So I'm not. So I guess with that, I'm not going to comment on the Navarro comments because I genuinely don't care.
It's easy to not care because they really don't make sense, honestly. Unless all three of us and the people that watch that match are just oblivious to how Qinwen operates on court and off the court, which is what Navarro was alluding to, saying that she's very cutthroat and she doesn't respect how Qinwen goes about things on and off the court. Unless all of us are oblivious, then maybe there's some.
It's probably more of a behind the scenes thing, and possibly. But I guess we'll have to see if anyone else says anything similar in the future.
The fact that no one has before makes Navarro's claims a little wishy-washy to me.
I guess what we're saying from this discussion about Zheng's prospects is that we have hopes of her being more of a Davenport or a Capriati than a Dementieva or a Bencic.
You mean as far as women that have won the gold medal?
Yeah. So Dementieva and Bencic won gold. Bencic has yet to win a slam. Dementieva never did. Whereas Davenport and Capriati won Olympic gold before they won a slam. Like, that kicks them on, especially with Davenport.
I'd love to see this kick on Zheng Qinwen onto bigger and better things, especially at slams. I'd love to see it.
And like, let's face it, it's not a super random result. She's an Australian Open finalist and she's a top 10 player.
Yeah.
So
it's not Monica Puig. Sorry, Monica Puig.
Monica Puig is just such an outlier. I decided not to mention her.
I thought we were going to have another one of those with Schmiedlova, who I guess deserves some recognition for her run to the bronze medal match. She ultimately lost it, but I mean, I thought Schmiedlova had kind of hit her peak in tennis, but this seems to be another one getting to that bronze medal match.
Yeah, I mean, Schmiedlova she's kind of turning into a bit of an Olympic specialist, isn't she? She's only getting her top 10 wins at Olympic Games.
Is she from Slovakia? Maybe she loves the Slovakian moment to represent her country. So yeah. Okay. That's why the Olympics should be at tennis. It brings out all these different things that you may or may not see on the WTA tour.
Yeah, but she lost that. Yeah, at the end of the day, she didn't quite have enough against Donna Vekic or Iga Swiatek in the bronze medal match. And I think it's probably worth rounding off on Iga because we've kind of been jumping between Zheng and Iga. So I think it makes sense to round off on Iga now rather than going straight to Vekic. We'll come back to Donna Vekic.
We've spoken enough about Iga, surely.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're talking about her performance. And I think one of the first questions I wrote because I started writing the notes for the show straight after the Iga loss, because that we knew that was going to define the storyline, right? And I wrote down how much is this result going to hurt, and then she goes out and she wins the bronze medal like nothing happened. There was some tears afterwards. She seemed genuinely happy to be holding it and genuinely positive in interviews afterwards. Like, she's got an Olympic medal. Like, it wasn't the biggest one, it wasn't the ultimate goal, but it was the minimum goal that she went there with, and she got it. So I've kind of come out of this thinking, I was kind of originally worried this result the loss of Zheng was going to derail her season completely. That's been completely reversed since the bronze medal match.
I do give her a lot of credit for being able to walk back on the court that she had just lost on and come in as another overwhelming favorite and do the things she was supposed to do, which was win that match overwhelmingly. So I give her a lot of credit for that. I'm just not sure if that had much to do with like the mentality of getting over that, or just how comfortable and good her game is on clay against somebody who is always going to be subpar 7 days out of the week against Iga on Philippe Chatrier. I'm not sure where that falls. Like, I give her credit for, putting on the tough it out cap and going and grab the bronze medal, or it could have just been the fact that she's playing great tennis because she's world number one and she's up against Schmiedlova, a player she should beat every day of the week. So I feel like it's somewhere in between there. Had it been somebody that was more of a threat to her game style, I feel like that would give me more insight into how she actually managed the loss to Zheng Qinwen. But she played somebody she was supposed to beat very easily, and she beat him very easily. So
yeah, similarly, I wouldn't read too much into it. It's obviously a major storyline, her exiting and not winning being the huge favorite, but she's had big losses before and she's bounced back. She's won 4 of the last 5 French Opens. She's world number one. It's a blip. I think she'll bounce back by the end of the season for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Jerome. Especially given sort of, there were people panicking after she lost to Ostapenko at the US Open, and then a couple of tournaments later, she's back on a winning streak.
She barely even lost a match after that, didn't she?
I think there was the Tokyo match that was a bit of a disaster.
Oh, yeah. Kudermetova.
Beijing onwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was back to recognizable Swiatek. So I guess we're kind of done with her on that topic. So let's talk about the other person on the Olympic podium, and I think this deserves some credit, is Donna Vekic, who, seems to have maintained this post-Wimbledon momentum. We weren't sure if she would, especially on clay, but Jerome, she showed up.
I can't tell you. I mean, I was up late watching the her match against Kostyuk. I think it was at the quarterfinal, and oh my gosh, I can't tell you how the emotions were going. I mean, I could tell exactly how she was feeling because it was so reminiscent of the Wimbledon semis. It was slipping away from her. She had match points. She was up, she was down. It was, and you could see her getting really frustrated, and on the verge of tears. And I really was praying for her, because I want her to do well. She deserves to do well, because she's playing such great tennis, but it was so close to slipping away from her. And I'm happy that she bounced back and eventually got a silver medal, which is very well deserved. I mean, what a season she's had backed it up.
I'm quite impressed with Donna Vekic, because I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but it kind of did. Like, I thought I had known the trajectory of Donna Vekic's career, like a quarterfinal or thereabouts of a slam, winning a 250, maybe getting a 500 under her belt, but like somewhere in the realm of being a top 25, 35 player, which is not great. It's not bad at all. I feel like in the last like maybe 5 or 6 weeks or so, she's made me start to reconsider that with the Wimbledon run and now this silver medal at the Olympics. Like, maybe there is more to her, and maybe there are a couple of drops of things left in her career that she can maybe find herself in a Grand Slam final, or even win a Masters or a WTA 1000 one day. I mean, I would imagine that these last couple of weeks it should show her that she can play with some of the best in the world. And if she can do the things she's done over the past 2 weeks on 2 different surfaces, hopefully she can recreate that and, like, actually hold the trophy somewhere of real importance. So she's impressed me, and more importantly, I get to kind of vicariously live my Nicole Vadasova dreams through her. So I'm happy about that.
Similarly, I mean, coming on to that, I mean, about her winning slams, I would love her too, and I think she's got the game for it. But what I've noticed especially in Wimbledon and the Olympics, is the physicality. I think she's not been able to kind of reproduce her best tennis later on in 3-set matches, and I think that is what is going to hinder her from getting to those big tournaments. I think she's played some great tennis, but I mean, definitely in Wimbledon towards the end there, she let it slip, and again she almost let it slip. It seems as if she's not that competent at producing her best tennis throughout 3-set matches.
I'm massively going to disagree with you there, Jerome.
Really?
Yeah, no. If you look at that Wimbledon semi-final, she was 2 points away from winning it. It really came down to how those last couple of points went that swung the match in the end. It was very even between her and Paolini. The way she she got a little bit nervous against Kostyuk. It would, like, both of them were super tight. That match could have gone either way, but she got the job done. She came through that. She dismissed Schmiedlova. She was by far the better player. And I think it was just that Zheng had her figure out in the final, and she was always going to be the favourite.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't actually, I think Vekic plays bigger the more she gets tired. And I think the reason why we question her fitness is because she's so expressive about it. But I don't think it's a bigger deal for her compared to other players.
Yeah,
it affects me as a watcher. I tweeted earlier, like, it's something that must be studied to, like, watch her be clearly so enthralled in a match and ready for the fight, but immediately after the point is over, it looks like she needs to, like, find an ice bath or keel over and puke, because it's both of those things, especially in a long match like we saw at the Wimbledon semifinal and the match against Kostyuk. She looks so exhausted, exhausted and drained and flushed, but then also smacks a forehand winner. He's like, wait, this is going to get you to the win. It needs to be studied how she is able to, like, juggle all of that and play amazing tennis.
But that's the thing, is that's not the kind of tennis that wins you slams. Being able to slug a forehand because you're tired. It's
How about Novak Djokovic?
Those cross. Yeah.
Djokovic on WTA Weekly show. Like, what is wrong with me?
Couldn't help himself.
No, I'm still very impressed with that result. But I think we're on the same page that Vekic is on the. It's kind of, we've got optimism about her potentially being one to watch going forward and continue to be a disruptive force in draws going forward, particularly if your name is Aryna Sabalenka, as I think someone has mentioned her head-to-head with Sabalenka being 6-2 in the chat.
and going to a place in the calendar where she's seen success. Like, she's gotten to a US Open quarterfinal back in 2019. Hard courts, in my mind, really do suit her, because before this Olympic Games, I don't even think she had reached a tour level final on clay. Like, no 250 level, 500, none of that. So for her to be able to produce this level of tennis on a surface that hasn't really and truly been advantageous for her throughout her career points to me that her game is getting better. She's really leaning into like the added voice of Pam Shriver and kind of adding some subtle things into her game. So who knows? I mean, I personally wouldn't want to be near her in the draw for the US Open. But again, we are watching the person that looks like she's about to keel over any moment when things get tough in a match. So it's, you know, it's a weird paradox with Miss Donna Vekic at the moment.
Speaking of keeling over, should we talk about the doubles?
Have we got a double show? I don't know if we've got a double show lined up for the.
Wait, Jerome,
is there
who keeled over in doubles?
No, I'm just. It's a reference to Irani and her age, but.
Oh, I mean, feel free. Like Jerome, you can have the floor with kind of, and you can round up the doubles for us.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I was just so taken back. I mean, I didn't watch any of the women's doubles up until the bronze and gold medal matches, but I was taken back by Irani. I mean, she playing sensational doubles. I mean, the shot making was incredible, and she in the first set against in the final against Andreeva and Schneider, Paolini was kind of missing a lot, getting very tight in that first set, and so Irani had to just pick her up, and she honestly was covering the net so well. The lobs were weighted perfectly. Her court coverage was just incredible, and you know, they deserved to win. A really, really nice story there, getting the Golden Slam, proving that, you know, maybe there is a place for tennis in the Olympics. But yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a place for Sarah Irani in the Hall of Fame, which, like, I personally wouldn't lean into voting for that just because Sarah Irani is a tough watch for me. But on paper, winning every single doubles Grand Slam, I think she may have had some mixed double slams, and now a doubles Grand Slam, I mean, a doubles gold medal. It does, like, her resume is impressive just in doubles, and then you kind of factor in the fact that she's been to a Grand Slam final in singles, been top 5 in the world. Maybe there's a case where Sarah Irani walks down the aisle of the Tennis Hall of Fame and gets that recognition. I'm not sure, but I do have to say I'm very, very grateful that she helped Jasmine Paolini to a moment where she is the victorious person and kind of holds the trophy / medal at the end of the day that says she's the champion and not the runner-up, because I do think Paolini's dedication to improving over the past 6 months, getting to 2 Grand Slam finals in the period of a couple of weeks when really no one had that on their radar, is great. And now she kind of can culminate the greatest summer of her career with a gold medal, something that I'm sure she may have dreamed about, but now she actually has. So I'm very, very, very happy for Paolini, and you know, Irani now gets to add a notch on her belt. But can we also take a second to acknowledge Andreeva and Schneider, who I don't think were really that aware of each other's games or played with each other much, and got to a silver medal or a gold medal match winning silver. I think that's really cool. I think that bodes well to how good they're going to be in the future, hopefully, like either with as doubles partners or with their own singular success. I'm really impressed by both of them.
Yeah, promising stuff, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You would imagine those two are going to play against each other, play with each other on the doubles court again. A fact that one of my favorite facts of the minute at the Olympics: Mira Andreeva is now the second youngest women's Olympic gold medal, Olympic medalist of any color since tennis came back in 1988. The only person younger than her who won a medal was Capriati in '92. Also on a clay court.
I was thinking it was Capriati.
Yeah, but like Mira's younger than anyone else who's won an Olympic medal in singles or doubles. Who probably actually male or female actually.
And both of them have actually had a nice couple of weeks. Schneider just won a title post Wimbledon on clay, as did Andreeva. So to kind of follow that up and get a silver medal in doubles is a great culmination to some good tennis they've been putting together over the past couple of weeks. So I'm happy for both of them, and I'm circling them as future stars of the sport. That's a great picture. Shout out to our producer. You look so happy there. I love that.
But I also agree with your summaries of the Italian pair, and hopefully we'll see plenty more of them over the next year or so. Maybe they'll win a slam together. But of course, we probably should move on to another player that Miles wouldn't vote for on the Hall of Fame, but probably will get in there anyway. And that is Angelique Kerber, who, Olympics was her last tournament. And what a ride she gave us in the Olympics. 2 points away from making the semis and potentially even getting a medal.
Glad that didn't happen.
Sorry. I think they were it not for everyone else being worthy medalists. It would have been cool to see her with one. But I guess so we can end our we can make sure our talking tennis kind of summary of her career is a positive one. Miles, you should go first with this.
Just to make sure it ends on a positive note. Fair enough. I'm going to be positive about Angelique Kerber's career because objectively, I can say that she took a lot of please don't take this the wrong way, guys. She took a lot of nothing and made it into a lot of something. Like, I distinctly remember the first time I saw her play. It was the opening round of the US Open back in 2007. So fast forward to, now to see that she's won 3 Grand Slam titles is really, really magnificent, considering I didn't see a weapon besides, scrambling and squatting. But she made a career out of scrambling and squatting, and she will be in the Hall of Fame. She has a really, really loyal fan base. And although I'm happy she didn't make the podium because she's not one of my favorites to root for, I can't be oblivious to the fact that she had a very, very accomplished career and was a pain in the butt for a lot of my faves. So, I don't love that picture, producer, but, go Angelique Kerber.
He's got the wrong Wimbledon final there. He should have gone for the other one that they played in 2016.
That one's fine. That one's fine as long as I just don't see Serena looking sad right next to it. Yeah, that one's
fine. I'm gonna be a bit more positive because I actually really liked watching Kerber playing. I was thinking about it. She actually consistently gave us match of the year contenders year on year. 2016, that's Serena Williams Australian Open final. 2018, the semi-final Australia against Halep. 2021, the third round of Wimbledon against Sarah Strubers Tormo. 2022, that clay court final in France. I think it was Strasbourg or Lyon. Against Kaya Juvan was one of the highlights of that season. And then this Olympic run was kind of perfect for her. And she's known to never give up and make it a fight in the end. And that's how she went out. 2 points from another big semi-final, playing super free. So, Jerome, I'm going to hand the mic over to you for this bit. How do you want to...
It's just quite fitting that... Andy Murray also bowing out at the same tournament, because you mentioned it there, that grit, that determination. I think that's what, brought her matches to life. And what as you said, they were always, matches of the year contenders because of that grit and determination. It's quite fitting that both her and Andy went out playing, with that grit and determination in crazy matches. So, yeah, great career for Kerber and a good way to go out. Obviously, don't forget the United Cup win this year with a 1-4 record. But
yeah, that's true. Somehow bizarre, kind of bizarre that she is the United Cup winner despite that. But
I feel like that encapsulates her career. Like, it's just kind of bizarre, but it's good. Some people give me I guess I set myself up for it, right? They give me a lot of shtick for not being a great fan of Kerber, but I can say that on paper, the accomplishments she's had are incredible, but it is kind of bizarre for me once you actually watch the tennis, because it's how are people struggling to put this away? But she makes it scrappy, and she always has, and she has gotten everything out of her career. So for that I do respect it.
Actually, it has to be said, she may well end her career on having a match of the year contender, because the match with Zheng might well end up being on the shortlist for what's going to come out. I don't know whether it'll make top 5 in the end, but it'll probably be worthy of being top 10 when
it'll definitely be top 10 moon balls of the year. That's for sure.
Hey, look, all I know is that my social media was going mad for that match after I got back, when I checked it. Next checked it because I don't check it loads. But it was that match, the costume match, which kind of went down as kind of the 2 matches everyone's going to remember from the WTA draw in the Olympics.
Well, yeah, I was just saying it was going on at the same time as at the start of the Collins Swiatek match, so it was kind of crossing over. But yeah,
Nick, I have a perfect segue in my mind to get us to like this week / next week's tennis, but I don't know if you want me to use it.
Well, I was going to do a little bit about Washington, so it depends on whether the segue goes into the winner of Washington or not.
We were going to go into another North American country, so I'll save it for you.
We will. Okay, let me know if the segue still works, Miles, because I'll let you do it. Yeah, so I think we do need to probably do a little bit about Washington, because that was an official WTA tournament that happened this year, because technically the Olympics is an ITF event. Not that anyone cares, because it's all like it'll all count towards everyone's titles and everything. Doesn't count for points, sadly.
It should.
It should. I agree. Zheng Qinwen should be the world number 6 right now. Donna Vekic safely in the top 20. But anyway, I think we need to talk about Washington, and Paula Badosa is the Washington Open champion. A powerful story of playing through pain. Let's be honest. We were talking about her having to have regular injections to deal with the discomfort she was dealing with. She was talking about over the clay season, but this kind of comeback over 2023, she's kind of grown in stature. So to me, winning a title, she was on the right trajectory for that. And I'm pleased for her that it's come so soon, Jerome.
Definitely. Yeah, played some good tennis throughout the week. And even in the final as well, she faced some adversity. Good to come back against a player that had just knocked out Sabalenka as well. So, yeah, really happy for her. And hopefully, this is, as you said, can push her on to do better towards the end of the hard court swing and into next season as well.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's stopping anytime soon, does she, Miles?
I'm not convinced of that yet. I think she did well against the players that was across the net from her. She had wins over Raducanu. She won the first set over Samsonova, but eventually retired. And then in the semis, who did Badosa beat?
Oh,
pretty handedly. Dolehide. And I think there's some other player that she played in the first round, because she was given a wild card into that tournament, so she technically didn't qualify.
Jamari's got it in the chat. It's Kenin,
Samsonova, Raducanu, Dolehide, and Buskova. I don't think any of them are in the top 40. So I feel like that is for a 500 title, except Samsonova.
Dolehide hasn't been, but they've all been to Grand Slam or 1000 finals, apart from Buskova.
Fair enough. I watched a good bit of that final because it was so stop and start with the rain. It definitely wasn't super high quality against Buskova, but I do think Buskova doesn't really have much put away power. She's great at retrieving and scrambling and kind of extending points, but Badosa has the ability and the firepower to kind of inject pace, and that was what got her that victory. I'm just not certain if this means that she's somehow back into the mix. I know she's going to be, I think, somewhere in the top 40 herself with the result of Washington, and she might just miss out on seeding at the U.S. Open. Again, I'm just not sure what this means long-term for her, because I know she has stated in several outlets that like she had this chip on her shoulder because everybody thought she should retire with everything going on with her back. But I mean, she's also said that in order for her to play, she's very dependent on these cortisone shots in her back, and that just doesn't scream to me longevity. So I'm sure she's super thrilled to win this title, especially having not won a WTA title since 2022. That's a great achievement. I'm just not necessarily putting this into like, oh, Badosa is somebody to look out for to, do damage at the US Open or beyond. I'm not quite sure that's going to segue into that.
Maybe not, but I think she should definitely make the most of it. And I think she'll probably give us some good matches. I mean, Schwan is highlighting in the chat, in the live chat for the episode, that Bushkova versus Townsend was a good match.
That was a good match. Yeah.
I've made a note of, so I can put that on my list. But I have to say, I actually quite enjoyed Badosa's match against Raducanu. It was like a really physical battle, and they were both hitting pretty well in the heat, and it was a grind, but I was entertained by it. And part of me is actually thinking, if it had gone the other way, maybe if Raducanu had held on to that break that she got early in the third, or she'd put this match away in 2, she could have been the one holding the trophy in the end.
Just quickly, I wasn't very convinced by Sabalenka at all throughout VC. I know this was her first match since pulling out of Wimbledon, but she did well to make that semi because her level was just really not great. A lot of unforced errors, and I'm just interested to see how the rest of her season looks, because I don't know if the yips that she famously struggled with are totally back, but it does look like they're kind of creeping back into her game. She definitely had her fair share of doubles and just kind of wild errors. Again, that might be knocking off rust, or it might be a side effect of the shoulder injury that took her out of Wimbledon. I'm not quite sure yet.
Anyone watching Sabalenka this week everyone's saying that was like she wasn't looking herself. I want to remind you, Miles, that earlier in the year we had a similar problem with when she came back from getting back from the Australian Open, and then she went out to Vekic in Dubai, and she kind of struggled to make deep runs in Indian Wells. Miami she had other stuff going on. Stuttgart, she hadn't quite, and it was actually Madrid against Collins where she finally woke up, and then Madrid, Rome was looking pretty good at Roland Garros until the shoulder problem started. So I'm a little bit more confident that she's going to get her mojo back. It's just going to depend on how long and how well she's going to use Canada and Cincinnati to get that back for the US Open. I don't know whether you want to come on any of that, Jerome.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough one to say. I mean, I watched a couple of her matches I watched the Bushkova match, and again, it just looks like she wasn't really in the zone. I think when she's locked in, you can see, but she was just making kind of poor decisions. Not even it was the wild errors, but it was also kind of just poor decision making, like going line when that's the wrong move and stuff like this. But anyway, I think it's going to be it just seems like it's a constant reoccurring thing with Sabalenka that it's takes time. Like she'll go on a bit of a run, then she'll have a bit of a dip, she'll go on a run. It's really hard one to say. I mean, she's been up there at the top of the game, but she's struggled to really push on and collate some imposing form. So again,
sorry, I hadn't raised your issue, but finish what you were saying.
No, go.
So isn't that necessarily a consequence of Sabalenka's game, though, given how big she can hit? Unforced errors are kind of going to be a natural part of it to a certain extent, but there needs to be that operating window for her to work in, for it to really click, and for her to kind of dominate the court. I think actually a lot of the top players kind of have an operating window they need to go in for everything to kind of click, and I'm including Iga and Elena and Coco in that. But I'm wondering whether that's kind of a consequence of, if she's feeling good, that's that. Then it's all going to look amazing. If something's off, she has to find a way around that to win.
We don't have to look that far back for evidence of what it looks like when it's all together, because she's the reigning Australian Open champion. So it could be worse.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, want to feel free to finish your point, Jerome.
Yeah. Well, no, coming on to that, I mean, I feel like it's so hard with these types of players who have that kind of massive game. As you said, that's the key. You've got to, it's all well and good being flashy and, hitting big, but you have to have a you can't just rely on, being in the zone. You also have to kind of have as you said, an outlook. So yeah, hopefully she can find that, because at times it's frustrating to watch, and I'm sure it's even more frustrating for herself.
It's interesting though, because this is a note I made, and I want to get your thoughts on it. I mean, I think I'm fairly outspoken on the topic that I think most of the WTA tour is actually pretty strong quality. But it's interesting that in the last few weeks, Iga, Elena, and now Arena have all failed to get titles when they were right there for the taking. Arena's in Washington, not necessarily as big a stage as Iga and Elena. I'm thinking of the Olympics and Wimbledon. Maybe the US Open, but I think that does a disservice to golf massively. But is that basically down to what we were talking about around they have a narrow operating window to actually dominate, or are we underappreciating the competitiveness and the quality of the field on their day?
I think
that's a great question, Nick.
I think the latter, because I think this is part and parcel of the whole conversation in recent years about the WTA tour, and how fans saying, oh, it's or people from the outside looking in being like, why have we got a random person winning a Grand Slam? Like, why is it not one of the big three of the women's tour? And I think it comes down to that, and a reason for that is because there's more quality evened out on the WTA tour, and that's not a bad thing. It just shows the high level, and it makes the achievements of someone like Iga, or at the top of the game, it makes them stand out even more, because those aren't just, I mean, yes, you have Grand Slam winners that are fluky, but I think a lot of the time, it's because of the quality, as we've seen with Zheng getting the Olympic gold after her run to the Australian Open. People thought, especially after some up and down tournaments since then, is she going to she's going to repeat that form? But she has done. So yeah, I think it's a tough one on the WTA tour, but again, it just makes the sport more exciting.
Nick, I think you framed that wonderfully, because I hadn't put it into context about like how the quote unquote, I'm using quotes very heavily, the WTA Big Three have kind of missed their opportunities to really bring home the titles that they should in the last couple of weeks, because I hadn't thought about Rybakina essentially crumbling in that Wimbledon semifinal, and looking at Iga doing the same thing against Zheng Qinwen, and now Sabalenka. Sabalenka has a little bit of an asterisk next to it because she had a lot more time off and was coming off an injury, but essentially she should have won DC with the remaining people that were around her in the semifinals. But all three of them have struggled, like you said, putting it away. But on the flip side of that, they lost to very maybe not Sabalenka's loss to Bushkova. Bushkova is kind of more of a second or third tier player, but with Rybakina and Iga, Rybakina losing to another Grand Slam champion in Krejcikova, like in the moment, huge upset, because Krejcikova didn't really come across as anybody's favorite for Wimbledon. But again, she's a former top, I think Krejcikova was former number 2 in the world, had won Roland Garros. So that shows the depth of women's tennis. And also Iga losing to Zheng Qinwen in the Olympics. A Grand Slam finalist just this year, top 10 player, and that's nothing to snub at. So I feel like it's a little bit of those really top players not taking advantage of the opportunities, but also their peers around them making it much harder than it would have been 20, 30 years ago, because there's just a lot more depth. Like a lot of these players that you quote unquote may not be seeing regularly week to week, they still have confidence somewhere in them, like a Krejcikova, to say, hey, I've gone deep in a Grand Slam and I've lifted that trophy. If the opportunity presents itself again, I know based off of experience, I can do this. So I do think that makes it makes the WTA, if you look at it from that lens, a lot more exciting than people want to give it credit for.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've kind of summed up what it is about the WTA that I absolutely love. I've already talked about why I wasn't surprised by Iga losing to Zheng. I think that win over her was Zheng was going to get a win in that rivalry at some point. The Krejcikova loss, you summed that up perfectly. Krejcikova is not a surprise. I think she's kind of, when she's on, she's kind of the Stan Wawrinka of the group of, oh, wait, when she's on and she'll beat all of them. And I think with Sabalenka's loss, yeah, it wasn't great. She did hit, and she hit like almost double the unforced errors Iga did in the match that she lost. But Sabalenka's, but even then, Bushkova's been to the last 4 of a 1,000 before. Like, she's been there and done that to a certain extent. Like, I think in my mind, if you get to the last 4 of a 1,000, you're kind of in that sort of top 2 or 3 tiers, which are actually very close together in terms of level, or at least how often you get it. And actually, I was impressed by how well Bushkova was able to stand up to the big hitting coming at her from not just Sabalenka, but also Badosa in sets 2 and 3 of the final. Set 1 was a bit more one-sided. So I think it does underappreciate what these players can do. And I think one of the beauties of tennis is that I think I'm kind of coming with the attitude of the ranking doesn't tell you how good the person's A game is. The ranking is more a reflection of how likely they are to produce a world-beating level on the day. It's not a surprise they can produce it. It's just a surprise. It's just about whether that day is the day.
Yeah, I think that's why obviously a lot of people love that big 3, having that on the tour and that kind of nature, those rivalries. And of course we love that. We would love that on the WTA tour too. But yeah, as you said, part of the reason why I love the WTA tour is that we have these beautiful stories of people coming through and finally reaching their potential at unexpected times, and this unknown nature of the sport. I think that's what makes it great.
I'm excited to see what name comes out of the barrel of names in Canada this year, because it could be a Camila Giorgi-esque story. I was looking to see what Camila Giorgi's ranking was when she won Canada in 2021, and it was 71, I think. And I think the 70-something ranked player, I quickly looked at the time, is Blinkova. So
wouldn't be crazy after that back, I don't know, when she had back in Australia, and that would be kind of iconic, really. Was that the segue you were looking for, Miles?
No, it wasn't. I was going to say, when you were just finishing up talking about Angelique Kerber, I was going to say there's somebody that's probably glad that she's off the tour, or at least not running to give her flowers, and that is somebody named Bianca Andreescu, who's going to be heavily highlighted in Canada, in Toronto this week.
Wow.
We were talking about things that Angelique Kerber would be known for, and Angelique Kerber, in my mind, I will not forget that she told Bianca Andreescu she's the biggest drama queen ever.
Forgot about that, to be honest.
I will never forget. That was funny.
But yeah, so it is Canada coming up. So the women are playing in Toronto this year, and qualifying's just finished. And I mean,
the draw is nice. I like it, actually.
Yeah. Let's be honest, the Olympics has kind of screwed that tournament over a little bit, because the field does look more like a 500 than a 1,000. Now WTA 500s are still super exciting. There's likely going to be some good quality matches in there. As I said, the depth of the tour gives us that, especially with the rules around who plays 500s now. But it will probably lack some hype until maybe it gets a bit further into the tour, into the event, as we're probably going to be asking around about whether Goff and Sabalenka can, get the job done, because everyone's going to be watching their progress.
Swarna just said, I'm happy because there's no Swiatek to defeat Goff. That wasn't on my mind, but thanks, I guess. I think it is going to be interesting to see how Coco does the next 3 weeks, though, because it doesn't feel like that long ago where she was kind of the woman of the summer. Not even kind of. She was the woman of the summer going into the U.S. Open and ultimately wins it. So there's a lot of points to defend. A lot of people kind of, in my mind, kind of like nipping at the bud to maybe show that 3-week run or so was a fluke. And she doesn't come in with a whole heap of confidence. Granted, she made it to 2 Grand Slam semifinals this year, and I think the WTA put out a stat that since she reached the top 10 in September of 2022. She hasn't lost it, which is coming up on a whole 2 years later. I mean, she had not lost it. She hasn't dipped outside the top 10 in almost 2 years. So there's a level of confidence that comes with that alone. But I do worry about the fact that she hasn't been on a hard court in a while. And, you know, if I'm coaching against Coco, it's pretty obvious as to what the advantageous side is to go against. And it's going to be difficult to see her manage all of that, being a number 1 seed at a 1,000. I'm not sure how many times that's been the case for her. And yeah, the player to beat with points to defend. I think she made the semis or the quarters here last year. She lost to Pagula. So yeah, that's not a huge amount of points, but points nonetheless. And there's some danger in her draw. I mean, if the seeds hold, Diana Schneider would be her 3rd round opponent, I believe. I'd love to see that matchup just because that would be a rivalry I'd like to see. But, you know, there are some threats. Naomi Osaka's in that section. She's unseeded. She's supposed to play Ons Jabeur in the first round. We'll see if Ons Jabeur is healthy enough to take the court. I know it's kind of easy to be down on this tournament because it's right off the heels of the Olympics. They don't have Iga. I don't think Rybakina's in the draw. Zheng Qinwen pulled out, obviously, because she just won the gold medal. So there's some, you know, air coming out of the tournament. But all in all, I'm actually interested to see who wins it because I'm actually kind of partial for the Toronto setup. So that's why I'm kind of happy. I like Toronto over Montreal because I've been to Toronto. So all of it to say I'm excited about this tournament.
Jerome, I do want to hear your thoughts on this draw, so hold on to them. I want to follow quickly on something, Miles, that you said. By the way, someone in the chat did mention that Coco potentially has Sophia Kenin as an opening round, which might give you nervous flashbacks. But like, are you, compared to where Goff was going into the hard court season, going into Washington last year, how does this year feel in comparison to that?
It almost feels more stressful in a way. You could look at it as two ways. Like, she already has the Grand Slam, which is what a lot of people work for just to get one, and she has it as a 20-year-old. But she's right back in the predicament of kind of sort of having something to prove. And I'm not sure yet if she plays her best tennis under that kind of pressure, especially with, like we were just saying, the depth of the WTA tour. Any given day you could be coming across somebody that's either won a Grand Slam, that's unseeded, or has been to a final. And that's tough, especially when you're dealing with some of the things technically that Coco is dealing with, like the forehand issues and the serve not being consistent. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm not sure if she's going to have I think she's really mature for her age, but I still have to really realize that she's 20 years old, you know? And I don't know if she has it all together to be able to balance and juggle all of the things that I just mentioned, as far as pressure, technical issues, coaching issues, possibly. Like, it's a lot. And to be the number 1 seed on top of that, all of the things that go along with, like, being the face of the tournament, doing press, promo, I would not be utterly shocked if she kind of tailspins out of the tournament. I'm rooting for her to do better than that, but there's a lot that can kind of go against her in the next couple of weeks, I think. So I'm a little stressed.
Okay, Jerome, I've made you hold on long enough. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think Osaka Jabeur is the first round match, but interesting enough, I think it's quite a blockbuster first round match. But I also think that Osaka has got quite a nice section otherwise, and actually I think she is definitely one to watch. I think she can cause some damage. She's been waiting for this hard court swing. We saw at the start of the year, in her comeback year, we've seen a bit of a change in attitude, I would say, on court from her. She seems like her mentality has always been great, 4-time slam champion, but the positivity I think she's getting after each defeat, especially the one to Iga at the French, you know, the way she took that was very good. I mean, that's one that you thought might hurt for a while. But no, I think she's got a nice section apart from that opener against Jabeur, but I think she can cause trouble. And if she gets into the rhythm on the hard court that we know she's capable of, I think she's definitely one to watch out for.
Nick, you know
Yeah.
a name I just peeped out in the draw that I think you'd like me to pull out that we've seen do well on the U.S. hard courts? Her name is Leylah Fernandez, and she
Oh, that
has,
would
I
be
think,
brilliant.
I think she has. I mean, I have to say her results have not been, just glittering over the past couple of weeks. But I think the section of the draw she's in as a number 15 seed, she opens up against Zheng Qinwen, who's been on a really, really tough go of it for the past year or two. So she should win that, knock on wood. And then she gets the winner of Kruger and Cochiretto. And, with the home crowd advantage being a Canadian, I would mind seeing a Fernandez kind of resurgence on a hard court. So, yeah, I just talked that up.
Possibility.
Yeah.
I could see it happening. She's definitely been growing in confidence over this year. And no, she did get to the last 16 of the Olympics. So she's kind of riding high from that. She seemed to have a good time there. So I guess what we're saying is that if things go horribly wrong for Goff and Sabalenka, we've got Osaka and Fernandez waiting in the wings to potentially pick up 1,000 points.
And there's one other person. I mentioned her on the segue, but Andreescu got a wild card into this tournament, and she's a former champion, also Canadian, and she opens up against Lesia Tsurenko. And there's a legit 50-50 chance that Tsurenko doesn't finish that match for obvious reasons. So yeah, I'm interested to see, like, outside of the seeded names, there's some unseeded ones, like we mentioned, Osaka, and now Andreescu. There's even Sloane Stephens, who's been to a final of the Canadian Open before. There's some, and Ons Jabeur is even unseeded. There's questions around her health, but yeah.
Jabeur is 9th seed, I think, but is she not?
Oh, I don't know. The app I'm looking at doesn't have her seeded at all. I don't know. That does sound kind of weird.
See if you can find Jabeur, see if she's seeded. She should be in the top half.
She is,
anyway,
yeah.
there's another woman that was in the qualies that didn't make it through, which is our favorite pickleball star, Jeannie Bouchard.
Eye roll, Miles.
Gutted not to be seeing her in the main draw, but
are you really? Like, are you being sarcastic, or are you really gutted?
Being sarcastic, but
okay. I'm not sure where she factors tennis on her priority list. Like, I think she is a better than average correspondent and, like, pretty good in the broadcast booth relative to what other talent is in the broadcast booth. But it's interesting how she kind of just ebbs and flows into the pro career of tennis and pickleball and influencing on social media. She kind of does it all, which I guess, like that, kudos to her for being a priority when we just have mentioned 3 other things that she kind of publicly does. So, and she was on the Davis Cup team, not Davis Cup, the Billie Jean King Cup team last year. I think she got a win in singles or doubles. So it's like, is she a professional tennis player still? I don't know. It's hard to describe.
He seems to think she is. She entered the qualifying for the Canadian Open, which is
she said recently. She said recently in an interview with the Times, she said that she obviously is more interested in pickleball at the moment, but she wants to keep pursuing tennis. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure we'll see her in the odd qualifying draw here and there.
I just can't take you seriously if you're trying to play pickleball professionally and tennis. Pickleball is, we've seen how you go from being a professional tennis player to playing pickleball. That's fine and dandy if that's what you want, but doing both at the same time seems counterproductive. But what do I know?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit like saying someone trying to get a squash and tennis career at the same time. You're not going to get very far with that. It's not like the old days where you could do something like that, like Jesse Owens being a great sprinter and long jumper. So, somehow the two went together at the time. Before we wrap up, I have noticed, of course, we have really kind of skirted over the defending champion of the Canadian Open, Jessica Pegula.
Completely forgot that she won that. Sorry, Pegula.
Yeah, she's the 3rd seed. Clearly, we're not high on her chances. Technically, the defending champion from Toronto is Simona Halep, but she's not in the draw. But we don't need to talk about that right now. But yeah, Jessica Pegula is in the draw, and I don't think anyone's particularly I guess Pegula, despite winning Berlin, I don't know, Jerome, you can come in on this one. Still seems like a little bit to prove for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously pulling out of the clay swing, felt like she wasn't ready, and then she obviously comes back in, obviously saving it for the hard court where she's best. But yeah, I've always liked Pegula, and I think, I mean, make 1,000 points to defend, obviously a tall order, but can she, make a couple rounds? Yes. What's her draw actually? Who she got in the first few rounds? Did we know?
Don't have it to hand.
Either way, I mean, I can't see her getting too far. No.
Based off of the fact that she has losses to Clara Burrell and Wang Jinyu at Grand Slam level this year, that kind of speaks to itself as to what level she's at.
Kind of a nasty draw as well, because she's potentially got, I would imagine it's going to be carrying Pliskova around on her opener, which is not the play you want as your opener.
But do you remember the year that Pegula and Pliskova played like 5 times in a matter of weeks, and Pegula won all of them? I remember that. That was a fun part of 2021 amidst a bleak year because of COVID. Maybe that jumps off her summer and beating somebody that she's comfortable beating. I don't know, but Pegula's kind of. Go ahead. Sorry.
She's probably gonna have Fernandez after that.
Yeah, and based off of the fact of who's beaten her this year, I mean, Fernandez should go into that match with some confidence. And I'm not sure if Pegula has peaked or not. If you had to ask me right now, I would say she has. And I'm not sure she's going to break that ceiling of like a quarterfinal at a major. Could be wrong, but my gut feeling is no at the moment.
Either that or she does it just before she retires. Which, let's face it, would be on track. Right. I think 3 out of 4 of the team are about to fall asleep, including our unseen team member. Miles, if you're about to fall asleep at 6:30 at night, I'm not sure what you're doing.
No, I have some Chick-fil-A nuggets and lemonade I need to finish, so I'm fine.
Okay, he's all good, guys. It's fine. Well, we'll tell you what, we're going to get some sleep because we need to rest up, because we're probably going to get some sleepless nights following Toronto, those of us in Europe. But yeah, our American fans, tennis is back on your soil for the next few weeks. And I'm looking forward to wrapping up all of the action from Toronto on the next episode as we start to build towards the US Open, the last big tournament of the year, the big last slam anyway, depending on your stance of the WTA finals. That's a whole other episode. Jerome and Miles, thank you both for coming on and making this a great trio. Should we just finish to see who our Olympic podium is?
Yeah.
If I'm not at least silver, I'm quitting this entire production.
Maybe don't do this, producer. I haven't seen the poll. I can't actually see it.
I think we share silver.
Gold. Oh, he's got silver.
I'm on the podium. Yay.
You're still proud of your bronze. You've been a fabulous effort. We don't take less than the Olympic medal standard punditry on this show.
And whoever clicked on me despite my never mind, I'm not gonna set myself up for that. Thank you for clicking on me. I appreciate it.
Jerome,
much appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Tough to take, but we move.
Hey, look, in tennis, apparently it's better to leave on a bronze medal than a silver medal, because at least you won a match. You leave on a win.
Yes.
Good point.
And anyway, I hope all of our viewers and listeners are leaving this feeling like winners. That's all from us today. We will be back for WTA Weekly at the end of Toronto, and keep an eye on the channel for all of our Canada coverage. And at some point in ATP Weekly, at some point that will emerge. And we'll wrap up, of course, the big Olympic final between Djokovic and Alcaraz. Lots to look forward to. But until then, take care. and keep talking tennis.
Ready? Play.
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one take.